Hello and welcome to our podcast. I'm Dani, and today Break.com talks with Bianca Panas Fijon, the criminologist and national coordinator of Missing Children South Africa. If you haven't heard of it yet, they're a non-profit organization that works to assist families in the South Africa and the South African Police Service with all reported missing persons cases. Before we begin, remember if you're new here to this podcast, press subscribe on YouTube or on your podcast app. Hi, Bianca, and welcome.
Hi, Danny. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to explore more this topic with you today. I feel like we need to learn and we need to talk more about this because you said to me before, I always do this quick conversation before recording, right? So we mentioned that this is going on a global scale. And absolutely, and I feel like we don't really know what is going on. So having your perspective from what is happening in South Africa might be a good point to start having more conversations about this. But before we dive into the statistics or the context of what's going on, let's have some context about the organization, right? So how did Missing Children in South Africa begin? What inspired the creation?
Well, Missing Children South Africa started in 2007 with two little girls actually that went missing, one in Pretoria and one in the Western Cape. So what happened is that we saw the need that to help the family, to educate the communities on what to do when a child goes missing, what the reporting process is, the communication between the family and also that of the police, and getting the flyers out there to create the awareness of a child that has gone missing. So that's where the organization started, and we've expanded so much over the years. And we're one of the biggest organizations, non-profit organizations in South Africa that assist with missing persons cases.
I believe it's so wonderful to have an organization that is dedicated to this because again, my impressions only, but I don't know if I would know what to do if that happened to me. Like I would
I think
definitely
a lot
seek,
of people,
right? I would seek the police, but is that enough? When should I do it? What could be going on? Because children, especially children going missing, it's not like a common thing. It's not that simple, right? So let's understand better the situation, especially again in your context in South Africa. First, how prevalent is the issue of missing children or maybe missing persons, right? We mentioned again human trafficking. It's something that it's just crazy. It doesn't get in my mind. I don't understand that. Admit it. And do you have like any statistics that you can share with us to highlight and help us see more what's going on?
yes, it is a very sad reality that children actually go missing, not just in South Africa, but across the world, and especially with human trafficking that has escalated so tremendously worldwide. In South Africa, we've got a big problem of children going missing. In 2013, the stats were standing at one child that goes missing every 5 hours. So if we take that back, that was in 2013. Unfortunately, we don't have any latest stats. But if we look at just the number of cases being reported to our organization yearly, it's increasing tremendously. We've also seen cases after lockdown that the increasing number of kidnappings, the increasing number of human trafficking cases in South Africa it's absolutely shocking. So our children are the most vulnerable. So they are the easiest targets to go missing for various reasons. Now, South Africa is also seen as a human trafficking hub. So we are a transit, export, and import country when it comes to human trafficking. We've got kidnappings that are happening for various reasons. We've got opportunistic kidnappings, parental and family abductions. We've got money-orientated kidnappings, such as ransom demand kidnappings that are happening. And unfortunately, our children are centered in all of these.
Wow, wow. I'm trying to again picture all of this going on, right? I oftentimes compare it's what I see here in Brazil to what I hear in the different countries that we talk to. And I believe that there are so many similarities, from the stories that you're telling. I don't know the statistics that we have here, but the stories that we see in media and all this, so it is a crazy thing to happen. And what is the kind of support, the kind of help that the MC, can I call it MCSA? That MCSA is able to provide to the families and to the police as well?
So we give support to the families, and as you just mentioned, to the South African Police Services. So we work directly with the South African Police Services on missing persons cases. So we assist with children and adult cases, whether it's kidnappings or human trafficking related, no matter what the reason behind that missing person or missing child is, we're there to assist. So what we do is we create a flyer, we spread that all over social media. We make sure all leads are followed up on that comes into us. We've got different various other organizations and entities that we work with to make sure that everything is being done and the awareness is created regarding that child or person that has gone missing. We also a support structure for the family with the communication that needs to be done between ourselves, the family, and that of the police, and to make sure that they understand the process of what is happening. I mean, it's an absolute massive emotional roller coaster that a family is going through when a child or a person has gone missing. So being there for them, supporting them during these difficult times, ensuring them that everything possible is being done to find their family member or child is very important to us. Also, once again, education. Education plays a vital role in our organization because education is a prevention methods that we can use to educate our communities and children on safety, rather prevents it than having something happen.
I believe that this educational side of you are probably one of the most important things that anyone can do, like even in the basic and community level, if you are able to teach people about what's going on, and especially the kids how to be safe, how the families can protect the children from it. It's the best way to look for the future. So it is amazing. And in this point, what strategies like do you teach? What do you, or maybe what strategies do you employ to prevent children abduction or trafficking?
Once again, that's where our education comes in, is to go into the communities, go to our schools to educate our children on how to keep themselves safe. Also with parents and guardians to educate them on to what do they do to keep their children safe. So what we've also realized when it comes to very young children, it's very difficult to sit them down and explain to them what a kidnapping is or what human trafficking is. We don't want to implement fear into our children, but we need them to understand the dangers out there. So we've brought forward interactive learning material, coloring in books and storybooks for very young children where they can teach, or color in while they actually learn the safety tip and understand what the concept is all about. So it's very important to us to have these strategies in place to make sure that we get the vital information and education out there to prevent these things from happening in South Africa.
I love that you mentioned this because it is a fine line, right, between making someone aware of a situation and make them scared. And then when we're talking about children, it's like even more sensible area. So I loved this approaches that you guys have. On your previous answer, talking about the services, you mentioned the toll that the situation has in the families, right? And I kept thinking here about how hard it must be because it's a different kind of. I don't know if it gets to a grief. This is me just trying to understand, because after a point it might get closer to a grief, but mixed with desperation, without and the sense of not being able to do anything. Could you tell us a bit more of what you have seen? Maybe that will help me and everyone listening to put themselves in the shoes of someone that has lost or has a family member, child missing.
I think the initial thing is pure shock. I mean, your child is missing, you don't know where he or she is. So it's pure shock and anxiety right in the beginning. But we do see the emotional roller coaster that goes with it. The fear, there's fear always with, especially knowing that the high number of kidnappings and human trafficking happening, that the first thing that families think is my child has been kidnapped. So it's fear, it's anxiety, it's pure shock in that moment of when a child has gone missing. But unfortunately, we have so many cases that are currently still unsolved. We've got cases dating back to 35 years ago whose children are still not found up until today. So those families, for instance, they go through that whole process of, as you mentioned, the grief does come in at a point. So they've gone through the shock, they've gone through the anxiety, they've gone through fear, and then it starts hoping that there might be someone still out there knowing something. They also have that grief, almost like that you've literally lost someone, but you don't have a body to bury. So they don't have the closure yet. And that closure is so important to someone who has a child or a family member that is missing. So at least if they just can find a body, they've got a body to bury and they've got the closure that they so desperately need. But those family, it's still an emotional roller coaster for them, with hope every day, hoping that they might see their child someday. So it emotionally, it's a very difficult thing. Every person deals with it in a different way. Some people go quiet, some go hysterical. It all depends on the person and the type of case that we're dealing with, and knowing sometimes, unfortunately, that we have to give the sad message of the child that has been found deceased. So then once again, the grief comes in, the sadness, the anger comes into play. So that's where we also come in, where we've got psychologists that we refer them to, or social service that needs to come into a situation, and we make sure that they get the support that is needed.
I'm still trying again to wrap my mind around it, because it's something that it's so hard to imagine the feel, and it must be such a challenge to help them to navigate. So it's again beautiful that you are able to offer the support to the families. It's absolutely necessary. And talking about challenges, Bianca, what would you say there are the most complex challenges that you face moving forward with the organization with missing children, like either on an operational way or maybe on a more personal approach?
I think our organization, the main problem that we're facing is actually funding in our organization. We unfortunately one of those types of organizations that people don't find cute. We deal with the harsh reality of life of children going missing. So it's very difficult. People shy away from it. They don't want to know about children going missing. They don't want to know about kidnappings. It's a topic that they don't want to discuss or face. But that is unfortunately where our problem comes in. It takes money for us to assist with cases, and we render our services absolutely free to those in need. So there's no fee that anyone has to pay us to help them to find their missing loved one. But we still have operational costs to help and find the child or the person that is missing. So funding does remain our biggest problem. And I wish that, the world can just open their eyes and realize that it's such a problem of children going missing, human trafficking, kidnapping. It's a worldwide problem. And it's something, if we don't start facing and helping organizations like ourselves, the problem is just going to increase.
We're going to talk about it later because I really want to make an appeal here to people, for people to donate it to you. But before going that and trying to look at the future, right? Because you guys have been doing this amazing work for some time now. So what is ahead? What are your next steps for the future on missing children in South Africa?
Well, we're going to broaden our education and reach as many children and families as possible, with our new educational material that we've got. We want to combat and take the stand against human trafficking even further in our country. We need to implement more change within our systems in South Africa to collaborate better. For instance, the South African Police Services, our social development, the NGO sector, we need to start collaborating, bringing those sectors together to make the change that we need in South Africa to keep our children safe.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in this point, I gotta urge people to go to your page because we touched some base here, but you can get a lot of information both about them, about missing children, but also about what's going on, how to prevent it, what to do if a child goes missing. In this amazing page that is missingchildren.org.za. I'm gonna add the link to this page on the description of the episode, so you have no excuses to go in there. And with this, Bianca, I move to this question. What are the best ways for people listening to us or watching us to get involved and help you guys keep moving forward?
Yes, please. We're asking as much support as possible. As you said, you're going to put in the link for our website. On our website, we've got a big red donate button. Please click on that, make that donation that will make a difference in our organization to bring a child back home safely. If anyone else would like to know more about our organization, please drop us an email. We are more than willing to be in contact to explain what we do, where our funding goes to, what it is needed for, so we can just make a difference. I mean, some of the children in our country get, exploited to different countries. So if you look at it, it's a worldwide connection when it comes to a child that has gone missing or to human trafficking. So if the world can stand together, support us as an organization to help make the difference in this world that is needed.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Bianca, and for helping us shed some light into this issue. I hope we can discuss it further in the future with other organizations as well, and maybe create a better network for people to fight against this. So thank you for joining. It was an amazing conversation.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And for everyone else watching or listening to us right now, thank you for staying with us for this more episode. And remember, if you enjoyed it, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Share this content with your family, with your friends, in your social media, everywhere you feel like people can get involved, can help us out fighting this. And this also helps us to spread the word about the importance of missing children in South Africa. So bye, and I see you in the next episode.